Hi guys, James Wilson Taylor here for Rock Sound. It's another of our video calls where we've been chatting to everybody while we're all at home at the minute. I'm delighted to say from Touché Amoré, Jeremy's on the line. How are you, man?
I'm okay. I've been awake for about an hour, so let's go.
Am I catching you nice and early this morning? This is good.
Yeah, well, it's funny since the shutdown, I've always been a night owl and the type of person that sleeps until like noon or something. But for some reason, since everything shut down, I just become like a responsible person. So like I go to bed by like a semi-reasonable time, like 1 a.m. maybe, and I'm like up at 8 every day. I don't know what's going on. It's a strange thing. Maybe it's just because I have so little to do during the day that like by the time night rolls around, I'm like, just go to bed, you know?
Just go to bed. Let's get this pandemic over faster. Let's just go to sleep, get it all done, out the way, right? Yeah, it makes sense.
Exactly.
Well, I'll kick this off in the same way we've kicked off all of these, which is to, of course, say I hope you and your loved ones, you're all staying safe and well as you can in this very, very strange time. And before we get onto music, just generally, how have you kind of been occupying your time? What have you been up to over these extended weeks at home?
Well, I decided to do the least creative thing that person from band with nothing to do did, which was I started a podcast. No, it's been fun. I like to bust my own balls about it. But no, I started a podcast. It's called The First Ever Podcast. It's been a total blast. I talked to different artists about the humble beginnings of whatever art form they've chosen. So like, I've talked to photographers, tattoo artists, cartoonists, obviously musicians and producers and stuff like that. An episode that went up, that my most recent episode was just with Claudio from Coheed and Cambria. But it's been fun. I really like doing that. And then I do a label called Secret Voice. I've been doing it for a long time, but I don't put out a ton of music. Like in the sense of, I stagger everything kind of a lot. Like I wait until like there's a project or a band that comes my way that gets me really, really excited. So like the last band that I put out was a Gouge Away 7-inch in like 2017, I think. So I'm about to put out this band called Soul Glow. It comes out like the first week in November. So that's been fun. But so it's like I've been juggling like in these last couple of months specifically, juggling like the Touche record coming out, getting a podcast done every week, working on Soul Glow, and then I also got engaged. So like all of these things.
Congratulations! I hadn't realized that as well. That's lovely.
Thank you. Yeah. So I've been trying to make the most of my time in a positive way because I think for a lot of us, if we don't have things to at least work on or make us feel like we have some sort of worth, things can go south really quickly. And I'm that type of person that I need to be stressed out because if I'm not stressed out, I feel like I don't have a lot of worth,
No, I feel you, man. I'm a person as well. I think really requires a routine, and I've said this before. I'm so thankful I'm able to continue doing my job from home. I'm in a fortunate position. Not everyone's in that position, and I guess especially for someone like yourself, where touring's the lifeblood of the industry, as we well know. But being able to find new outlets like that you can actually do from home, that's got to be a really nice thing to be able to do that.
Yeah. It is, and I feel very, very, very lucky to have the platform that I have to where I can do a podcast and rely on at least a couple hundred people checking it out or whatever, just out of interest in whatever I'm doing. So I'm very aware how lucky I am for that. But I think that I've been having this conversation with a lot of just like musician friends these last couple of months. Like, I think if you come from some sort of punk rock, hardcore scene, whatever, anything that has like DIY, life attached to it, we're sort of like built-in hustlers. It's like we've decided to have this life that doesn't have a steady paycheck. So like I haven't had a steady paycheck since 2008. So I've always been able to figure out ways to pay my rent, whether it's selling stuff, making things to sell, working on this, it's like there's always something I can try to do. And it's that sort of, fuck authority lifestyle that I think I've always had of just like, I don't want a boss. I'd rather eat, 65-cent noodles for dinner for a week than have to like answer to somebody. I don't know. It's weird how that works, but as you get older, you start to question if it was a good idea, though.
Well, it means you're built well for these times, man. So there you go. It came right in the end, right?
I'm hanging in there.
Absolutely.
I'm making the most of it.
No, it's good to see, man. It's good to see, and congrats on the record as well, man. I mean, it's nice when we see that there's bands in these positions where you're actually able to still put out music and connect with your fans on that level, even if we're not able to get out on the road at the minute. Now that it is out there, seems to have gone down great with the fans. Seems to be getting some really, really nice reactions everywhere. How was that release for you? Because I guess it must be kind of strange putting it out at this time, but it must be lovely at the same time to see those reactions.
Yeah, we, like everybody else, when we were still in the studio when the shutdown happened, and we were like kind of wrapping up. We were about to start mixing and things like that. So we're lucky that it was like, towards the end there. So we were able to sort of like be careful about how many people were in the studio every day. And it was before there was like strict regulations and we knew how like serious everything was and all that. So like, it was still at a time where there was a lot of questions. So that sort of ignorance was kind of blissful because we were able to still work. But then once things got very serious, then that's when the mixing started. But we, like everybody else, what I was going to say was we questioned whether we should put the record out this year because, no touring. And we decided to sort of stick to our guns on it because we sort of looked at the open space now that was going to be provided, where it's like, wow, we knew of all these different records that we would have been like, for lack of a better term, competing with, that were going to be coming out at that same time, that all got pushed. And we were like, well, let's take advantage of that, ghost town and just see what happens. And what we kind of realized and we got as time went on was like, not to sound like fucking I have some savior complex or something like that, but like there was a lot of people that the response was like, I'm happy that I have something to look forward to. Like,
absolutely.
I'm excited to pre-order this record because like it gives me excitement to like have something coming in the mail of a band that I like, So because of that, it was the most successful pre-order that our band has ever had for like records, and our best first week. I don't necessarily try to care about that stuff because, it is what it is, but it's just, it's nice to feel that sort of validation that this was the right move to still put out the record. But, I got to be honest, where like 2 days after the record came out, I had an overwhelming sense of fear and stress about now what? Now, how do I keep everybody's attention for a year or however long it's going to be?
It's a challenge everyone's facing, but like you say, I'm always really pleased to see, because I understand totally when artists have had to push back their releases. Everyone's in very strange positions at the minute, but if you are in a position where you feel confident to put it out like that, yeah, like you say, it's great, and it must be extra gratifying as much as, chart positions mean what they mean, but that's really lovely to have such a strong opening week because it shows that people were very grateful to the fact that you were able to put it out that time, and that in itself, I guess, shows that the community's there and wants to follow you over the next year, right?
Yeah, and it's also not lost on me that it's our, we're a hardcore band, for lack of a better genre description, that we're on our 5th album, and the fact that our 5th record can still do better than our early ones, like this genre often attaches itself to an early record, and then, people who follow the band might be kind and pay attention a little bit, but like to have everybody's full attention still a decade in is again, I understand how lucky we are. I feel very, very lucky.
No, it's an amazing thing, man. Congrats on all that. And then in terms of, like you say, I guess for want of a better phrase, keeping the attention and keeping things going and what is next. Like everyone else, you've got to approach the online thing. So let's talk live streaming, man, because I've loved chatting with everybody about their different approaches. Every single live stream show I watched has been completely different to the last, and I love that. Everyone's making it their own. Talk to me about your approach and what the kind of challenges are in making something like that.
We're very fortunate to have Nick Steinhardt in our band, our guitar player, who is a graphic design artist by trade. That's like his main thing. He's done outrageous records for a lot of people, and there's not a moment in his day where I don't think he's at least thinking about design, you know? And he has rarely ever done any sort of like video work. So this for him was like a challenge, and also like I think he enjoyed it as much as I know it stressed him out. But like for those that watched, there was like a lot of pre-show stuff with like commercials that were sort of made like fake advertisements and things like that. That sort of, we wanted to sort of give it like a classic going to a movie theater sort of feeling with like, you know, concession sort of advertisements and things like that. I saw a lot of people compare it to sort of like Adult Swim or early MTV and things like that, which was really cool to see. And then, you know, we were very lucky that our buddy Nate, who sings in the band Zabalba, who put on the show for us, that he works in production as his like straight job and tours with a lot of big acts, dealing with stage production, whatever. So he's now home and has a warehouse full of like insane equipment. So he's like, I want to put this to use, you know, like I want to help bands get out there and do their thing. So like he, you know, had the whole video wall, and then him and Nick like collaborated, and he had a whole crew with him. And, you know, there was the challenges, of course, of like everybody being safe and everybody being tested, like, you know, checking temperatures and keeping distance when we needed to or whatever. But we were able to pull it off in a way that was really fun. And that we were so stoked on how good the sound was. You know, it was mixed really well. We had a lot of great people working on the sound side of it. So yeah, it's fun. You know, I don't know how many more live stream stuff we're going to do. Like we haven't said yes or no to anything, you know, going forward, but this, I've talked again, you know, all musicians are doing are talking to one another about the future and all of this sort of stuff. And like, it used to be that this is going to be me sounding crazy. I understand that, but I don't know that I want to settle into like doing a lot of live streams, only because, you know, years ago when you would tour, you'd be concerned about other tours that are happening in town that night or that week as competition, you know? And it always sucked when you have to have competition with maybe your friend's band where you're like, oh man, they're in town tonight too, kind of a thing. And then, you know, in the last 2 years, it turned into now we're competing with Netflix. You know, people are like, I'd go to that show, but, you know, I'm just going to stay in and watch TV. And that became a real thing, you know? And I guess what I'm getting at is I have a slight fear, which is probably completely irrational. I understand that. I'm looking directly into this little green dot, say, I understand this is irrational. But I have this fear that when touring comes back, there might be this section of people that are like, I'd go to the show, but I already watched the show on my phone.
Oh, come on. No, I can't let you have that. There's no way that's going to be the case. You see how desperate everyone is for some live music, man. And we know it can't compete.
And you know what? I'm going off just, you know, I've always been the person that even if, you know, we're headlining a tour and we know that the show is sold pretty okay, I'm still always peeking out before we play, being like, are people still here? So I'm always going to have an irrational fear of this stuff. But like, you know, a band like ours needs to have the crowd participation. You know, like we thrive on that. Like that's what makes, you know, a show of ours what it is. It's like, you know, I'd say it's 30% us, 70% audience, you know? So it's just, again, an irrational fear. I'm home doing nothing but stressing out. So that being said, I just so desperately don't want to jeopardize any opportunity to have that feeling again.
Absolutely, but I will categorically state for the people that aren't able to respond to you right now, that ain't happening, dude. Don't worry. You're all good, man. You're all good.
Well, okay, look, there's going to be people that even when things open up and say there's a vaccine or whatever, there's still going to be people that are like, I'm afraid to go to that show.
Oh, of course. I understand that. That's going to be the interesting part, I think,
Yeah.
when it comes into adapting how venues work and all that stuff. That's going to be interesting. I guess we just have to wait and see how it's going to work. But yeah.
Okay, so that'll be that'll be the asterisk to my statement being like, I'd go to that show. I'm a little freaked out still, and I watched it on my phone.
Yeah, that's the one. Finding new ways to freak out. That'll do it. That'll do it. Well, speaking of like adapting though and stuff though, I have liked the fact that you guys are playing with the fact that everyone's at home. Most recently, of course, the we've got to mention the Reminders music video, which was just a lovely, warm hug for people who are a fan of these bands, man. It was really, really lovely. Just a huge guest list in there. Obviously, you know, Frank Iero, Jason Butler, all these kind of friends of yours. Talk to me about putting that together. Where did the idea come from, and was it just a case of ringing everyone up who you know has a pet?
Yeah, I mean it was the easiest music video to ever make.
Sure.
I'll go on record saying I fucking capital F hate music videos. And it's just like they're always so stressful, and especially like, you know, they're really expensive always, and you start to wonder if like the cost of this thing is worth like the amount of streams it's going to get, because most people are going to watch it maybe once, and then you're like, you know, like, is it worth it, kind of a thing. And like, I don't know, when you're performing, like you feel silly doing it because you're just doing it in front of, it's just like all of the things. Like, I'll be very transparent, I don't like them, you know. But it's the nature of the beast, and we're happy to do them if, you know, if we have a new record to help the record sell, all of that stuff. Like, we'll play the game and we'll do all the stuff we're supposed to do, but like, it's just not enjoyable, and not a lot of us enjoy the aspect of it. So we had been saying like, let's only do like 2 videos for this record, and call it, right? And there's actually a 3rd video that hasn't come out yet, that we've been working on for a long time, which is it's like a very like visual video that looks incredible. That I like things that like we don't have to be a part of, that it's like someone is making this really awesome thing, because that is exciting to us, because it's like a different artist take on what we're doing. That's cool. I'm talking shit on like playing in front of the camera. Not my favorite. So that's why the Limelight video that we did, it's much more of a storyline video. It feels like a short film, and then we're just like vaguely in the background for a second. That was like a big part of making that video, where it's like we're down to be in it, we're down to have a performance aspect, but I want us to feel like we're just a poster on the wall, or just, you know, a very limited part of this video. We're playing in an empty bar, and I wanted to feel uncomfortable. Like, anyone who's ever been in a band knows what it feels like to play to an empty room, you know, and I wanted to capture like how uncomfortable that is. So that was a big aspect of that, but I'm rambling. The Reminders video, management came to us and was like, how do you feel about making a video that is maybe like, we reach out to fans and ask them, you know, some sort of like, what's helping them through tough times kind of a thing. And I was like, I don't hate the idea, but there's some problems with that. Problems with that are, A, you don't want it to feel like a PSA, because that's like it could be kind of corny. Asking fans to be involved and do it, you run into some issues there, because what if you don't use someone's video and then they're mad at you, or the videos come in such different sort of quality that like it makes the video very jarring, you know. Also, yeah, all of these sorts of things, you know. So it's like, that's, you know, you run into some issues there. You don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. So I was driving out with my now fiance to like go out to the river or something like that, and I was like, let me call you back, let me think on it. And I was like, what if we just reached out to like all of our like cool friends that we've been lucky enough to make all these years, and just literally get footage of them with their pets? Like, who doesn't love that? Like, who doesn't want to just see cute pets with awesome people. And so I ran it by my girl, and she was like, yeah, of course. So I hit management back, and I was like, I'm happy to take the lead on this and bug everybody, because like, honestly, if anyone from those bands, or artists or whatever, hit me and was like, hey, are you down to send me like a 30-second video of you and your dog? I'd be like, give me 1 minute. I'll send it back. It's the easiest thing. I'm hanging out with my dog already. I'll set my iPhone up and there it is, So it was a real blast to put together. It was a lot of work, just sort of like doing the follow-ups, because there are people that are busy. So there's a lot of people that were like, yeah, I'm totally down. And then a couple days would go by, I'd be like, hey, you got that video for me? But it was a total blast to do, and I love doing it. I'm so happy with how it came out. I did also, I was very aware of like, this is going to be a very much needed palate cleanser for a lot of people's timelines. You're scrolling through your phone and you're just seeing so much negativity and so much just awful shit happening every single day that like, I don't necessarily want to distract somebody from paying attention to the awful shit, because that's the most important thing right now to move us forward, to be aware. But if we could give 3 minutes of like I felt good about that,
Yeah, as you well should. It's absolutely right. It strikes me the same way. I've had people say to me when we've been doing these, and saying how nice it is to actually see a little glimpse into people's homes like yourself and all that kind of stuff, because everyone's in the same boat around the world right now. It's quite nice and reassuring to know that even your favorite musicians are in the same position. And I think that's exactly the same with that video too.
Yeah, we were like, Nick, our guitar player, who's a visual person, was concerned at first, where he's like, should we, pay to send everybody out like different color like backdrops, so it's like it all kind of feels a little bit uniform? And we're like, yeah, that would look really good, but there's something about seeing these people in their environment that adds the personality to it. So also that was like now we're getting into difficult music video territory, because then we're having to deal with having to ship things and send things back and receive things, and let's just make this as easy as possible. It's also a very cheap music video to make, which was very nice.
Yeah, I was going to say, you hit the nail on the head with the idea first time round. Don't complicate that. It's all good. Musicians, pets, done. We're good.
Done. Exactly. And not to make this a heavy conversation, but like, a thing that ended up becoming a big inspiration to get it done was one of the people that was supposed to be in the video was Riley Gale from Power Trip. And our last conversation was about the video. We're like, he was like, I'm so excited to do this. This is, an awesome idea. Give me a couple days. Like, we had like a little instruction thing that Nick had made and, sent it to him. And he was like, this is awesome. Like, I'll hit you back. And then a day later got the news. So, that sort of had like a little bit of a shadow on it. It was like, like I had like an Excel thing of all the different people in the video and all their, contact stuff and whatever. And just scrolling through it every single time and getting to the R's and seeing Riley's name was like, oh, God damn it. So, that became, I tried to turn that into sort of an inspiration to get the thing done and kind of do it in a way where it's like that Riley would have been psyched to see, because he was a big dog lover, so.
Oh, no, that's really lovely, man. That's I mean, God, yeah, really, really lovely. At least that your last conversation was about something so positive, I suppose, at least, and something that, like I say, has brought, as simple as it is, as simple as a concept, a really nice thing to see for everyone, especially your fans when they're stuck at home. And that's got to be something to take comfort from, I suppose. Yeah, definitely. Tough time, but man, yeah, no, that's really nice to hear. I want to dive into the record a little bit, just because I really want to ask about a couple of the tracks and how they came together. Particularly, I want to mention Andy Hall from Manchester Orchestra is, of course, on a collab on there on Limelight. How did that one in particular come together? What was that working process like with you guys?
We've been friends now for a long time. I wrote about and sang about the first time we met on our record is Survived By, on a song called To Write Content. And I like that it's kind of like an arc in our you know, in our story that it's like we met and I sang about it, and then, you know, so many years later he's on our record. But you know, we maintained a really good relationship. You know, a lot of times you meet somebody on tour in a backstage room or whatever, and you're friendly, you might follow each other on social media going forward, but you don't really have like a deep relationship with those people. But for some reason, Andy and I took to each other pretty quickly and became pretty good friends these last couple of years. Like whenever he would come to LA, whether it was to perform or to just to take a meeting with somebody or to work on something, we'd get dinner, and just, you know, maintain a really awesome relationship. And always someone that I could call, or he could call me to talk about, you know, stresses of working on stuff or like writer's block or any of these sorts of things that, you know, a lot of us go through. So when we started, you know, so we'd always had this idea of trying to do maybe like a collaborative EP, like a 7-inch or something like that. Or we always tried to find some sort of excuse to work together, but it just never worked out because either Manchester was super busy in the studio, we're in the studio, they're on tour, we're on tour, whatever the reason. So we started writing this record, and Limelight was one of the first, maybe the first song we wrote for the record. And early on, I was like, oh my God, I feel like the song could really work with Andy. And you know, we recorded a ton of demos when we re-recorded our album to the Beat of a Dead Horse last year. And that was one of the songs that we did a demo for, and I sent it to Andy, and he responded when I was like, you know, at this time in the song is when I'd like you to do something. And his response was like, oh, those are my kind of chords. Like I could do this. And, nice. The original idea was for him to just do some like really pretty, like oohs and ohs behind us, you know, like I wasn't expecting him to like go hard and sing a bunch of lyrics. And the morning of, when he was going to be working on it, he recorded it in Atlanta at home. We weren't present with each other. I wish we could have been, but you know, rarely does that stuff work nowadays, you know. But he hit me in the morning and was like, hey, I wrote all these lyrics. I was kind of inspired by this. Like, what do you think? And sent me like a screenshot of his laptop with like 12 lines of lyrics. And I was like, of course, like whatever you want to do. Like, I'd love that. Like, show me what you're thinking. And then was sending me updated videos of like different things he was trying. And all of us were just like, are you serious? Like, this is incredible. So it became just very exciting instantly, you know? And I really think that he took that song. I think anyone would agree. He took that song and just like brought it to such a different, exciting place. It feels like almost two songs in one, you know, it's like the first half and then he comes in and you're like, holy shit. And I could say that about my own band because I'm not singing on it. I can enjoy it as like an outsider being like, damn, that is a very good part in this song. It's like arguably, you know, top 3 favorite songs that we've ever done because of Andy. You know, that whole last part just it gets me, it makes the hairs on my arm raise, you know. I'm like, I can't believe how crazy he sounds and how good it sounds, you know. So very thankful for that whole situation. I love Andy to death. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome that you've connected with it that much and it's boosted up. And the other one I kind of wanted to ask you about on the new record as well, because you had a chat with one of my colleagues over on the website about the album when it was coming out, and you said in that interview that the real highlight for you on the record was A Forecast. And I just wanted you to kind of expand on that, if that's okay. Why do you think that one in particular was your standout moment and one you couldn't wait for people to hear?
Oh, well, I mean, I was excited for people to hear, but also like, you know, it kind of the most anxious song for people to hear because it's as, you know, naked as I have ever been, maybe, you know. It's like, it's so stripped down, and the lyrics are very straightforward. And I feel like, you know, if you've been following this band and sort of our arc in everything, and maybe if you followed the shit that I've been into or anything like that, like you kind of feel in on it, you know. Like there's a lot of references in it that like you would get, you know. And just thinking to the recording process, it was really pretty wild. Like Ross had me sing that intro song so many times in a row. Like a big trick that Ross would always do, I haven't really talked about this, but a big trick that Ross would do to kind of keep me in my headspace and to keep, you know, me in the moment was I would sing the whole song. And then, you know, like anyone else in the studio, one of you, especially, you know, vocalists in particular, as soon as you finish singing the song, you were like, you know, and you think you're about to take off the headphones and like chill for a second, maybe go back and listen to it. But as soon as the song would end, Ross would just start it again and just expect me to do it again. And then I would do it and then he would start it again. There was often times where I would sing the song like 8-9 times in a row. And I would be waiting for him to like, be like, come listen to it. Like, give me that thing. Because if not, like, I know I'm going to be standing there continuing to sing it. And it was definitely like a very, you know, intense outpouring of kind of wrapping up the record of where I am and who I am at this moment and all of that. So like, I'm real proud of that song. You know, it was fun working with our drummer Elliot, who played the piano on it and wrote the whole piano part on it, and him and I kind of coming up with the best ways to go about that. But yeah, it's arguably that and Skyscraper are kind of equal to me for like closing tracks on our records. But yeah, it's one I'm very proud of.
No, absolutely, man. No, it's nice to hear that. Nice to hear the story behind it as well, for sure. Here's what I'll leave you with then, man, because we've talked a little bit about the challenges of where you go from here when there is no touring. It's a challenge everyone's been facing, but one thing that I've found everyone seems to be doing is working on new music in some way, shape, or form. Have ideas been forming? I know the album's only just dropped, but have you started to think about what might come next for you?
Oh my God, certainly not.
I like that's refreshing. I like that. That's good.
You know, the thing about Touche is that we know each other so well, being a band as long as we have now, that like, you know, when we decide when it's like time to get together and work, everybody's very like locked in and on board. But when we finish something, we very much embrace like, let's take some time apart, you know? Like, and that's not to say we're dysfunctional. I think it's what makes us, you know, very functional, is that when we do decide to get together to work, whether it's to go on tour or whatever, it's like, there's the feeling of excitement. It feels like a reunion, you know, it's like we're all in a room together and we're hanging out and we're catching up about each other's lives and whatever. Like some bands are constantly in the same room together or maybe live together, which is insane to me, or whatever. But, you know, like, I think that we all really embrace our time apart so that when we do get back together to work on something, it's very exciting. But I mean, everybody's also very cautious about, you know, the obvious situation with the world, and a lot of people have elderly parents and things like that. So, you know, I think getting together as little as possible is sort of still a big thing for us, as much as, you know, we all get tested and we're all very careful. But I think everybody right now is just really enjoying the record being out, and, you know, a few texts here and there in the group chat. I talk to Nick and I hang out with Nick kind of a lot, just because he and I work together on so much stuff with the band visually. He and I are definitely like a big partnership. You know, we're all obviously in a band together, but like Nick and I talk so goddamn much. So it's like, you know, he and I are always working on something together, whether it's for Touche or another project or something like that. But yeah, we'll see. You know, I'm sure we're gonna end up doing another sort of live stream thing. I've had a couple ideas here and there for like cool things we could potentially put together to help, you know, promote the record and things like that. But who knows, you know, I really enjoy that Bandcamp has those like Bandcamp days where all the money raised goes to the artists and things like that. And it's been in my mind to like embrace that in some capacity, whether it's like, maybe we figure out doing like an EP of cover songs or something like that, you know, something fun that's like, you know, doesn't piss off Epitaph or things like that.
Sure.
Not that they would. They're all good people. They're all friends. But like, I don't know. But I don't think any of us are rushing to.
Fair enough.
No,
absolutely fair enough. You relax, guys, and just celebrate. Congratulations on the release, and yeah, looking forward to seeing you in the UK whenever that is allowed. Hopefully sooner rather than later, man. But yeah, in the meantime, of course,
love to come back.
Yeah, fingers crossed, man. We hope to see you next year or something when hopefully it's all very doable. But in the meantime, yeah, man, stay safe out there. Love to all your loved ones and the rest of the guys, and we'll catch up with you soon.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
No, good to see you, man. Jeremy.